Hey, what's going on? This is a video of the practice round I played today for the Crooked Creek Classic coming up next weekend. I'll be playing long tees, MA1. Looks like we're playing all long tees with exception of hole 6, from which we'll play from the sidewalk tee, as well as alt 8 and alt 9 will play reds. In this video, I believe I played all these tees correctly with exception of alt 9. I played the blue tee for that hole. If you're playing different division, looks like you guys are playing a mix of reds, blues, maybe some whites as well. But for that information, just check out the disc golf scene page. All right, so I'm gonna get it cranked up with the footage starting on hole 1, playing about 218 feet. I like the forehand line down the left. I know there's also a backhand line down the right, as well as a backhand turnover line straight. I've seen the kind of this line on the backhand turnover aced, which was pretty cool. But for me, the forehand with the zone works well. This is it with the justice. This one tracks over to the basket a little bit better at the end. And then here's a attempt at the kind of backhand hyzer line. Throw it a little too low. If I get that higher and maybe a touch more hyzer, or maybe I've just thrown the zone down that line, would have been better. Here's a backhand turnover look. Don't get it quite over to the right enough, also just a little bit long, but all in all, pretty decent. So that's where that zone ended up. Let me know after you've watched some of the video if you're cool with the format, if you want me to leave more footage in or take more footage out, talk less, talk more. Any feedback would be appreciated. I'm mostly doing this as a study tool for myself, but I'd also like to get some feedback from people that do watch it. Moving on, hole 2, par 3, 311 feet. Playing downhill, got to move a little bit to the right and get over the creek. My first shot's going to be with a fission hex. Just kind of throw it hard at that tree in the middle and let it turn off it to the right is my game plan. I think there's a little bit of wind off the right for me at the moment. Yeah, so that worked out nice. If I could get it a little more to the right, that'd be ideal, but I will take that every time. That's a neutron rhythm. It's a little too understable, just kind of turns over pretty hard. And this is a neutron crave. It's a little not quite enough understable, but luckily it does get across the creek. Something in between that crave and that rhythm would be perfect. And here's my attempt at a forehand with a Halo Beast. That ends up on the right side of the green, but pretty good. Yeah, right there is where that fission hex ended up. I'd honestly I'd probably take that every time if you offered it to me. Ooh, almost. And right behind it is where the crave ended up. And then right here I'm going to pick up the neutron rhythm. I don't know how that thing stayed up. It must have been coming down on kind of a cut angle and I don't know, stayed up somehow. And right there is where that Halo Beast forehand ended up. So all of those actually ended up working out pretty good. Hole 3, par 3, I guess playing a pin 250 feet. There's a little bit of headwind, so I try to disc up here and go Eclipse Reactor instead of zone. And I just get it turned over and the wind is not going to let it come out of that. So that goes OB left in the creek. Here's me just going ahead and throwing the zone at it. Yeah, ends up all right. A little short, but not too bad. And here's a backhand turnover with a beat up Electron Envy. I need to throw that higher, and then I think it'd be good if it was higher. But it was too low, just comes up a bit short. Not even that short, though. Oh, yeah. Just a little nose down with that one. Hole 4, playing 198 feet uphill. I think the pure line for this is a flex forehand. Though I think definitely just throwing forehand, backhand, whatever you're comfortable with to get through the gap is most important. Kind of going with a more neutral mid-range. This is a neutron reactor I've had in the bag for a while, so just something smooth I can just spin through the gap and let it get up there so that thing slides up to edge of the circle. That's a zone. Put a little too much ante on it, but I think that's pin high and just gets up on the left side of the green. Yeah, so that neutron reactor slid up to here. Moving on. Hole 5, par 3, playing to the A pin, so I guess 318 feet. Due to the shot shape, I think it's a little more power than that. I'm throwing Zeus for the shot, just trying to pipe a distance driver up there that'll stable up and try to move left at the end. I actually get it to hit the walking path. Don't get a big skip though, but decent enough. I'm happy with that. I might go reverb in the tournament, something a little more overstable, also in a harder plastic, so maybe I get a better skip. But all in all, ending up right there with the Zeus, I'm pretty happy with. Dude, I swear that hit the ring at the bottom of the chains and bounced out. I was trying to throw a berg at that in case I missed. It wouldn't go so far past. There's no T sign here, but we're playing about 270 feet, if I had to guess. I'm just throwing a resistor up the right. I actually went more inside than the line I intended to, but it luckily got through and got to here. I know some people also throw forehand here. For me, if I try to throw the forehand, I tend to miss it left, and missing left on that forehand line is not good. So I'm choosing to go for the backhand on this tee shot. Cool. Moving on, hole 7, downhill, 176 feet, island hole. I'm going to forehand a berg right down there at it. Ends up pretty good. I have rarely made this island on like a pure line. Usually if I make it, it's because I hit a tree. But missed the putt anyway. I think one of the few times I birdied that hole in tournament play was a shanked tomahawk that hit a tree and fell down. Hole 8, we're playing blue to, I guess the long pin. That drawing didn't depict the hole super accurately or, perfectly to me. So we're playing to the pin that's far right, not the one that's against the path. So this is forehand with a wrath. It's pretty good. That just pushes a bit too straight. I'm not OB or anything, but I'm in those trees next to the path. That's a Zeus, something that I'm trying to get the track a little further right. That one's also alright, but again, just pushes a little too long and I end up in the trees on the far side. Yeah, so I try a little kneeling stretch out forehand from there. Pretty good. Good layup, right? This is the same shot. That's where that Zeus ended up, so there's a better executed second shot. Still catch a tree. So now from here, I'm just going to try to pitch a zone up around the corner. I'm actually trying to go wide, but I kind of throw it with a bit of an early release, but luckily it gets through the inside gap. That one was a little better. Well, the first one was good. Oop. I should have cut out the second putts. Alright, hole 9. Playing the right side to the B position. I like throwing a berg off this tee. I feel like it sets me up for the second shot well. You can try to be a bit more aggressive and bite off more of the hole. But for me, throwing a putter off this tee usually sets me up the most consistently for a second shot. From here, I'm just going to forehand a reverb, like an overstable distance driver, to try to get a big flare skip to the right at the end. I like clearing out my footing a lot to make sure I have like a more secure, less slidey ground under my feet. Because sometimes when that pine straw is so thick, when you go to like shift your weight, it can slide on you. So I usually like trying to clear the ground all the way to the dirt before I go to execute my shot, just so that way I make sure I've got some good solid grip under me. So if you see me like kicking pine straw and stuff, that's what I'm doing. Yeah, so that's where that reverb forehand ended up. Gave it a good bid. Oh, that was good. Moving on, hole 10, par 3. Guess it's coming in at 266 feet. I like throwing a slightly understable mid-range. I think you probably could throw a putter too, perfectly fine. But I like throwing something on a flip-up hyzer line down the right. Yeah, I let that one out a bit late, but I pure the I pure the local line, I guess. That was a fission hex. I threw some other putters and mids with similar results. Didn't pure the gap with any of them, but they all got lucky. Yeah, I don't know what was going on with my putt right there. My putt lately, when I have trouble, is missing right and or nose down, so try to correct those this week leading to the tournament. We got hole 11, par 4 to the long pin, clocking in just over 450 or right around 450, I think. Baseball field to the right, inside that fence is OB. I like just throwing a mid-range out into the field and then getting up and down with a putter from there. That's an Eclipse reactor, and that's more or less exactly where I'm trying to throw it. Here's me trying to go for it with a Halo Beast. And I do not get it over the fence. I end up down there by the scoreboard inside the fence, so I need a good extra 80 feet of distance before I can do this one, I guess. I'm going to try to approach with a berg here. I told myself to be aggressive. Whenever I see mistakes on this, it's actually less often that people threw it down the hill and more often that they came up short. So I was like, be aggressive. So that first one was bad. Second one on a flat line instead of that kind of hyzer line played a lot better. So I guess that'll be my plan for the tournament. Cool. Moving on. Hole 12, 287 feet. Playing downhill. I think it's a straight, slightly turned over putter mid range. I'm just going to throw a Fission Envy down there at it. Go just by it, a little deep, but I'm happy with that. Guess I'll try to throw it a little lower to not go as far, but this is probably another one that I could and would want to get closer, but I'd probably take this every time if you offered it to me. A little too high and then a little too low. Hole 13, we're playing to the B pin. For some reason, I think it's in the C position. You can see it. I think you can see it right out here in the middle in the B pin. But for some reason, I thought it was in the C position. So I'm trying to throw a distance driver through that gap pretty hard, like as hard as I can, and then try to let it fade left. But really, I need to be throwing something more straight for the B position. But again, I was thinking C position for some reason. Yeah, so I just tried to throw that hard and ended up kind of grip locking it. And so here you probably see me realize, yeah, that that's me just realizing that I was thinking of the wrong thing. So from here it'll just be a kind of a zone approach. Hole 14, par 3. T sign says 283. I think I might play a little longer than that, maybe. But my first two shots, I'm going to attempt forehand. This first one, again, is that Halo Beast. Something not too stable because I need it to fly straight. Yep, it's a little early a little high. Fortunate tree kicks though. This is a neutron wrath. That one was almost really good. And this is a backhand fission hex. Yeah, that one was really good, so I think that'll be my play for the tournament. This is where that Halo Beast ended up. Yeah. I was 100% trying to do that. Absolutely. I was absolutely not trying to do that. That was one of those cases where the basket got in the way of it. But I'll take it. Yeah, that's where that fission hex ended up. Oof. At least I made the first putt. That's the one that counts, right? Hole 15, par 3, 238 feet. We're playing to the one down the hill to the left, not the one on the mound. So my first throw here is going to be like a big tree hit, a big first available hit, attempting to go on the inside gap. Here's a fission hex hyzer on the outside. That gets to like circle 2, like short of the pin, circle 2. Here's me trying like a reverb skip. I hit that on the ground like too early, so that wasn't good. And here's like a look at a forehand flat or forehand ante, and that ended up being the best. I threw a bunch more practice shots, and that forehand line ended up being my favorite. That reactor that I forehanded is right there by the basket. This is where that hex ended up, but that forehand was just the most comfortable, and also had the best average result out of the ones that I tried, so I think that'll be my play for the tournament. Moving on, hole 16, 415 feet, almost a double dogleg. I'm playing a relatively conservative tee shot. I'm just trying to do a little zone placement shot, a little standstill. Ended up going a little too conservative with it. I'd want to be a little bit farther and finish on the left side because we're trying to get up the hill to the right. I think finishing on the left side of this fairway is crucial if you're trying to pick up the birdie. Kind of yank that one a little bit to the outside. Let that one out a little early. There's a correction. Well, 17, par 3, playing to the D position. That says... I didn't read it. It's a two-shot hole. I'm going to throw a wrath. A little bit of hyzer. Let that out a bit early. Was not good. Here's me trying the same shot more or less with a servo. Kind of like a T-bird. And I threw that one much better. I don't even know if you could see it, but this is where the wrath ended up. I don't know how that wrath got here. It's obviously very, very fortunate. So that pin's going to be across the creek and then in the one on the left, kind of the long left, the D position as they call it. And I got kind of an overhand, like a thumber line, so I grabbing a fireball for that. And I took what I can get. I think I got on the island. Or I'm not sure if it's not completely an island, but I got across the creek. And like a circle 2 look after that. Here's where that servo ended up, so this was pretty good. Just going to try a little zone ends up all right. I also try like a Berg Annie forehand here. Both of these approach shots ended up pretty good. And I'm not going to lie, I have no idea which one is the correct one. And when I say correct, I mean which one of those two shots has the best average outcome. I do not know which one of those two it is. Yeah, that's where that thumber ended up. So, pretty lucky to be there after two shots after that drive with that Wrath. Cool. Hole 18, par 3, playing to the B pin, so 350 feet. I'm not going for anything, like I'm not being aggressive here. I'm just going to try to throw efficient hex down the middle. And if I get lucky and slide up to 50 feet, because the ground will play fast on this hole. If I get lucky and slide up to a circle 2 putt, that's cool. But in general, I'm just trying to throw it down the middle and keep it in bounds. Yeah. All right, now we're on the Pro 9, or the Alt 9. I'll refer to it by the T sign because it'll be easiest for me. So this was hole 1. It's whatever distance the T sign just said. I wasn't paying attention. I'm sorry. If I had to guess, it's 330, 350. I'm going to try a forehand. It can't be 350. I guess 330 sounds about right. Forehand Zeus. I'm not like that dominant of a forehand player. I turned that one over a little bit. And what I mean by that is this is probably at the reach of my forehand distance. This is a forehand reverb. Got a little bit of wind. I have no idea which direction it was coming from right now, though. That one gets up there to like circle 2, but was thrown a bit inside. Yeah, so that Zeus got turned over and just luckily it stabled up a little bit and glowed, flew through the air to there. Cut up and down for the par. That reverb did not land there on the ground. That's after I tossed it up. Hole 2, 374 feet. Got a baseball field which is out of bounds. You can throw a safe shot over to the right and then get up and down, or you can try to throw at it. I think I got wind off the right at the moment. Obviously, like not a ton, but I think it's coming off the right. Like at one point it felt like a little tail, one point it felt like a little head, but in general, the right was consistent. So if I got that turned over a little more, it would have been really good. But that was a scorch, the ESP scorch. But I'm plenty happy to get it pin high, even if I'm outside circle. Not a hole I used to be able to throw over the fence on. Yeah, I wanted this too. This would have been, I would have been texting my friends like, dude, you're never going to believe what hole I just birdied. And instead, I bogeyed. That's the way it goes. Alright. Alt 9 number 3, 325 feet. I like throwing a frisbee at it and hoping it doesn't end up going poorly. This is a glow reactor, an eclipse reactor. Just going to try to throw it flat. I think I have some headwind or wind off the right. I can't really remember. I just get that turned over just a little bit, and it just never comes out of it, and I go in the road. Here's another reactor. This one's like a little barely less stable than that eclipse one. But I get it out in a little bit of hyzer, and that time the wind picks it up for me and takes it over to the left. So I just picked up the eclipse one. I just would have been pitching up and tapping in for bogey. So here is the neutron reactor. And that's been like my putting miss lately. So when my putt is off, I just miss it right. So still working on that. And I actually slid out. The road's right behind the basket. So I actually went OB after that first putt. But anyway, hole 4, par 3. Look at all those. Holy crap. Did you see all those tees and pins? I didn't even know this hole had more than one pin. Anyway, it's like 330 feet or so, I guess. But I think it plays a little downhill. I'm going with the Neutron Crave. Pretty neutral. Maybe I wouldn't even call this disc understable. It will turn a little bit, but since the ground slopes to the left down there and downhill a little bit, you tend to get some extra airspace for the disc to fade. So I think something pretty neutral, pretty straight flying works out best, not something overstable. Cool. Hole 5, playing to the A position from the blue, says some kind of number. I didn't even know this tee pad was back here. I've only ever played, I guess, the white pad. I didn't realize this was back here. So this is the first time I've ever thrown from here. We got like a half tee pad, and I was kind of struggling with a run up. This is a Halo Beast. I think I have a headwind. Yeah, get it turned over a bit. I say a bit, obviously just turned over way too much. This is a Crave. I threw some other shots that were terrible. I didn't even put them in. That time I didn't use the tee pad. I just threw from behind it, and it worked better. Because X-stepping onto the tee pad was just awkward. That Crave just ended up a little short. That Beast was out of bounds, so I'm just going to play from where the Crave was. If the Crave had been 10 more feet, it would have skipped forward at the end of it too, but I caught this slope right here. And there it is, dude. Nice. Hole 6, par 3, 366 feet. This is a hard one. This is a hard hole. I'm going to throw the Halo Beast first. I'm trying to go inside line here that turns a little bit. I don't think I'm really trying to birdie it with this line. It's more like throw this one up there in the field. And I threw it pretty bad, hit the trees. This is the line I'm going to throw in going forward. This is like outside the line with real overstable driver and get it to like skip up the hill at the end. That ends up, I think I'm like almost in the circle, but with that reverb. So that'll be my play on the hole going forward, is that outside line with like a real overstable driver. That reverb's not real overstable, but it's just overstable. As a little approach for the bird from where that Halo Beast was. Yeah, and here's where that reverb ended up. Oh. Oh. I don't think I've ever tooed this hole before, so that would have been cool. Alt 7, par 3, 390. In tournament, I'm going to go for this. Like, I'm going to throw Zeus and try to hyzer it through the gap. But since I have no one to spot for me and no one to tell me if there's people down there or not, I'm just throwing a bird kind of layup. Not to like get on a soapbox, but going forward, me and people I play with, I'm going to try to make a point for us not to throw blind shots into areas where there might be people walking because we're in a park. And I've always kind of thought about that, but I think after seeing Eagle hit that camera guy on the head this weekend, it kind of like cemented the thought to me that I need to be more respectful and patient, if that makes sense. Patient isn't an exact word there, but it's someone who expresses my feelings about it. Instead of being like, I'm trying to play disc golf, I'm going to throw, I'm just going to be like, I'll just lay up. I don't want to hurt anybody. I don't know if that makes any sense or not, but that's a tee shot in the tournament I'll go for, but for today, just lay it up, just for the sake of making sure I don't hit someone that was walking. All 8, I'm going to throw a Crave. We're playing from this red tee to, I guess, that pin position. I missed my line. I threw it outside, but it goes through that gap and skips over to the pin just fine. Hole 9, par 4, playing to the A position, 455 feet. You don't have to throw very long shots for this. You probably go putter-putter. I'm going to go mid-putter, more or less. I threw several tee shots here, and every time I threw it, I was like, I want to get more distance on it than that. And then I got up to the tee shots, I'm like, oh, I'm just throwing a putter from here anyway. That one I just let out on some Anheuser. Luckily, those trees stopped me from crossing the path and going OP right. So from there, I had nothing. Just going to pitch it out in the fairway. That's about where right there is where my Eclipse reactor ended up. So this is like an average drive position, I guess, for what I'm looking for with those mid ranges. And this is Electron Envy beat up, so it should turn over. Wow. I'm so sorry. But yeah, you can just throw a putter down there at it. This went too long. I should have thrown the Berg. You can throw a forehand, but it slopes to the right, and that car pass right there on the right, so you're a little bit of danger going out of bounds. So I think the backhand is my plan there. But cool. This was my practice round today. Stoked to get to play Crooked Creek in a tournament. It's one of my favorite courses. I think it's a great course for beginners and people who've been playing for a long time. So I'm looking forward to it. If you're playing in the tournament, best of luck. If you're playing the course at any point in time, hope you have fun. And until the next one, see you later.